All right. Do you think January 6th weakened democracy?
Yeah, for sure, of course, yeah.
Okay, so I think at least it's a wash, which means that I think it's not the case that it weakened democracy, and it's not the case it strengthened democracy. At the very least, it's a wash, because there's a lot of outcomes of January 6th that I believe strengthen democracy. That, at least the outcomes I'm aware of, there's outcomes that weaken it, there's outcomes that strengthen democracy, and there's a lot of outcomes that strengthen it.
Sure, so I mean, I would say that, so we're a democracy in the United States, and I think right now anywhere from 70 to 80% of Republicans don't believe in the outcome of the 2020 election. I can't think of, well, there are things that are worse for democracy than that, but I would say that that's probably one of the worst possible beliefs that could be pervasive among a population.
Yeah, so I can sort of follow the reasoning there, but just inherently, because a lot of people don't trust the election results, that inherently isn't going to convince me of anything.
Well, so people, that's not true that inherently people didn't believe it. That was an explicit thing that was pushed by Trump and MAGA for a year leading up to January 6th. It was an intentional concoction from them in order to get people to do the demonstrations at January 6th.
Okay, well, just to be clear, I agree with you that there's a lot of Americans that don't believe or don't trust the election results. That's not where I'm fighting you. Well, I'm not even really fighting you on that point. I could see how that could be an outcome that weakens democracy, but I'm just saying that in the definition of democracy, you're not going to find there has to be a certain percentage of Americans.
People that trust the outcome of the elections?
Absolutely not, because you could, in theory, right, if you're defining democracy as, fair and free elections, people don't get, people don't get murdered for their free speech or whatever. If you have all these pillars that you're defining democracy, I don't think there's all of those things can be true. The propositions in the debate or in the definition can be true, and also barely anyone trusts the election. I think that's hypothetically.
No, I don't think that's possible.
Wait,
I think if you had a monarchy where they didn't believe in last names, I think that monarchy would fall apart pretty fast. If you had a democracy where people didn't believe in the electoral outcomes, I think that democracy would fall apart pretty fast.
No, so it could fall apart. So let's say if people don't trust the election, you could argue that they're going to riot or they're going to destroy the poll booths or whatever. That's that. But just inherently, if they're not destroying the poll booths and the poll booths are there, and we still have fair, free elections, we still have free speech and everything. Just because people think that the results are bad, it doesn't follow that the results were actually that you can't vote in a fair and free election. It doesn't follow that.
I'm not sure if I would grant this, but we can move to the next point, I guess. If you, yeah.
You got one more minute there.
It, yeah.
Okay.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of outcomes that strengthen.
Give me your top one or two outcomes, I think.
Well, so Trump got impeached for January 6th. I think that might set an example for other people to not repeat January 6th. And then he also got charged with 4 crimes related to that. So that's
but didn't he didn't get convicted in the Senate, and didn't he get elected again? Didn't he isn't that the ultimate vindication of his claim that he won the election after being impeached?
Okay, but Destiny, so that's another thing. You could argue that weakens democracy, but let's just say he never got charged with a crime. Okay, compared to him being charged with a crime. Being charged with a crime inherently is counting towards my point that democracy was strengthened.
I don't think that's very true at all.
Okay, so if you could, if Trump would never get charged with a crime, even if he didn't get punished for it, that would be worse than him never getting charged.
Well, it would be better if he didn't do the thing at all, right?
Oh, no, yeah, but that's a different claim, though. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, but him doing the thing at all puts us here. Him getting impeached for it might put us here, but we're not even close to where we were prior to him doing the thing.
If you mean close, if you mean I'm just talking about the strength.
As in, if you had a community and a person gets murdered, and then that person who did the murder gets arrested, and then jailed, and then convicted, and then sentenced or whatever, you could say there was some justice served in that society. But to say that well, isn't it didn't we serve more justice in that society than in one where no murder had happened at all? It's that's a very strange claim. I don't think I would agree with that. No, I think I'd rather the society where no murder happened at all than a society where a murderer was maybe kind of sort of held accountable.
Well, I'm not saying it's good that it happened. I'm actually just making a descriptive claim about the strength or weakness of democracy.
Yeah, but how could you say that democracy is strengthened because a person was impeached for launching a historic attack against our system?
Well, because the reasoning would be that it set an example. So if you if you were to beat someone up and you don't get impeached or charged with crime, that would be an example.
Yeah, but I think the assumption prior to Donald Trump doing it was that you shouldn't be able to do stuff like that at all.
No, I agree with that.
But then he did do it, right?
Yeah.
And then he got impeached, and then he won the next election. So it seems like I don't know if there's a strong example set there at all.